virtual learners. This is another lesson of Too Good for Drugs. In our last lesson, we talked about identifying and managing emotions. And we learned that as we strengthen our ability to recognize our emotions, we become better equipped to effectively manage them. Now today, we'll discuss how to be an effective communicator. Now, I want everybody to open your books to page 10 in the section titled Fundamentals of Communication. Consider the roles of the speaker and the listener in the communication process. Now, what is the speaker's objective and what is the purpose of the listener? Now, where it says speaker on page 10, I want you to write down the speaker's objective is to share, describe, or explain information. Now, before you can communicate a message as the speaker, you must think about what you want to say and why you want to say it and how will you say it. You also need to pay attention to the listener's body language and facial expressions to confirm that your message is understood. Now, the listener's role, I want you to write down, is to acknowledge, learn, or understand what the speaker is saying. And to be an active listener, you have to look at the speaker, pay close attention to the speaker's body language and facial expressions. Now, last week you identified the emotions of other students through, facial expression and body language. Today, we are going to identify the emotions in a different way. Now, you may not realize it, but what we communicate is only partially conveyed with words. We use nonverbal cues, and nonverbal cues is anything that's, when you're not speaking, as in your facial expression, body language, and tone of voice. Now, facial expressions alert us to what someone is feeling, and they alert us to what we are feeling. So I want you to look on page 10 of your workbook in the section titled Mood Matchup. Now, there are 4 faces on that page, and each with different expressions. For each face, mimic the expression, and then select the emotion communicated. Choose from the following options: sad, angry, happy, or disgusted. And write down your answers in the space provided. And you may only use one emotion only once. Now, let's share your answers, see if you got them right. Now, number 1 is angry. 2 is disgusted. 3 is sad. And 4 is happy. Now, body language and tone of voice are other nonverbal cues that convey a person's thoughts or emotions. If someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, nice outfit," well, you figure that, are you going to listen to the words or are you going to listen to the way they're saying it? Because that was more of a sarcastic tone. Now, if I go up to someone and I say, "Oh, that's a nice outfit," you're going to believe both the words and the tone of voice, because they are both intertwined with each other and they're both saying the same thing. Nonverbal cues can completely change the meaning of a speaker's words. Now, the words we say, our tone of voice, and our facial expression together will fit one of the 3 speaking styles. And the 3 speaking styles we're going to talk about today are passive, aggressive, and assertive. Now, a passive speaker seems to be someone who has a quiet, kind of timid tone of voice and lacks confidence. And a aggressive speaker is someone who is loud, bossy, and doesn't really respect the listener's feelings. Now, assertive speaker is someone who has a firm tone of voice, a respectful tone, and kind of cares about the listener's feelings, but also gets their point across. So I want everybody to look on page 11 in the section titled Sleeping Bag. And I want you to read the following stories along with what's going on. Now, I'm going to read the first part, and it says, "You are packing for your family's annual camping trip, and you can't find your sleeping bag anywhere. You search the house, top to bottom, with no success. Suddenly you remember you loaned it to your friend Camilla last month, and she hasn't returned it. Today is Wednesday, and the trip is Saturday. You will ask her to return it tomorrow when you see her at school. So to find out how the story goes, I want you to follow path to your first clearing and read the next part of the story, and then you reach the clearing and continue along the path that describes the characteristics your player demonstrated in each response. Now, have you ever been in a conversation with someone who is texting or seems bored or constantly interrupting you? Usually when people do that, you feel important and you feel like they don't care what you're saying. But a lot of you all, hopefully, have friends who carefully listen when you speak. Now, active listeners pay close attention to what the speaker is saying and are fully engaged in conversations. They show that they're attentives by nodding their heads, leaning toward the speaker, and making eye contact. So here are 3 helpful hints to practice active listening. Number 1, pay close attention to the speaker's verbal and nonverbal cues. Number 2, ask clarifying questions to make sure you understand. 3, repeat the speaker's message in your own words to confirm you understood the message. So effective communication skill is improved with practice, and you can build stronger and better relationships with your communication and your thoughts and feelings effectively by practicing every day. So next week, we will put our communication skills to work in building healthy relationships.